The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Find your channel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where we talk about healing, self-care, love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com, and I help hardworking women and couples who have survived abuse be vibrant, alive, magnetic, and passionate while creating healthy, intimate relationships. I'm coming to you tonight from Teaneck, New Jersey. And right now I am trying to make sure that we are live on the Facebook. I'm just double checking a lot of technical things to sort of check out and make sure that they're good. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure we're live. Are we live? Are we live? Oh, I don't know. Wait, you have a backup stream. There's so much technical stuff to work out. As usual, I have a really fantastic guest tonight that I'm about to tell you about in a second. Anyway, tonight also I have a very special treat. If you stay until the end of the show, I'm going to be answering a direct listener question. A viewer wrote in and asked that he stay anonymous due to the nature of his question, so I'm calling him Lost Lust. His question is, I am a man who has, this is just part of his question. I'm going to read the rest of it at the end of the show. I'm a man who has lost sexual attraction for my partner. Should I continue to date and engage in the possibility of a future with her? Everything else is good, but it's been about 5 months since we've last hooked up. So that is going to be a very, very interesting question that both me and my expert tonight are going to answer. And I want you to stay until the end for that. Now, the fall has ended, which means that we are easing into winter with our new theme, love and relationships around the world. And all winter long, I'm going to be holding remote interviews with really special guests from every corner of the world. And so far, we have people lined up from Indonesia, from Australia, Brazil, the UK. And we want to talk about different modalities for creating healthy lives and healthy relationships. And I'm also curious to learn how people in other cultures relate with themselves and their self-care and all that good stuff. You guys who normally listen to the show know that I always talk about filling yourself up so that you can overflow onto others. So we're going to get into a really juicy self-care conversation tonight, because what does it actually mean to fill yourself up and practice good self-care, right? And I'm also curious to learn how people in other cultures relate with themselves and their self-care. And so tonight, my very special guest is Serena Sabala from the UK, but originally from Sicily, Italy, which is also very exciting. She's a plant-based nutritionist and yoga instructor and fitness trainer who has a compelling backstory about wellness. And I'm going to fully introduce you to her in a second. But first, happy Monday, everybody. You are either listening on your smart device with the TuneIn app, or maybe you're listening in the garden on armedradioglobal.com. We're also on iHeartRadio, so don't forget to follow us and download your favorite shows. And for the streamers, we're also available on Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, and Spreaker. Or you might be live here on the Facebook. Now, right now, I'm having a little bit, let me make sure. Use a persistent stream key. I don't know. Facebook is asking me questions rather than just showing the feed. So let me double check to make sure that I'm on with you guys. Serena, hang tight. I'm going to fully introduce you in a second so you can interact with everybody. I just want to make sure that we are... we actually have a feed going on the Facebook so that people can interact with us. Hold on. Sometimes it's a little bit like, I don't know what it's doing. Don't put Okay, already selected go live. We should be live, I think. It's so hard to tell these days. Hold on. I'm going to check on my phone. Hold on. I know the people out there in the audio, they're like, what the hell is going on? But I don't want the Facebook people to miss out, because I know that they so much, like sometimes, if they tune in, they want to be able to interact into our conversation. Okay, now I think Zoom is taking us live, so that should be good. And also, Serena, if you want to share our broadcast once it goes up, although I think you're on your phone, so that might be a little harder for you to do. All right. Okay, what's happening here? Okay. So, Eternal Wellness. I'm just going to call it Eternal Wellness. The people on audio, thank you for hanging tight and waiting for us to kind of get it together. Okay, now I think we're going live. You got live on your end, Serena? Okay, cool. I know Armed Radio, I know they're like, what the hell is going on? What is she doing? I am getting into all of my technical difficulties during the middle of a live show. That is exactly what I'm doing. So, okay, let me make sure I can see the feed because it takes me right out of the page for whatever reason. And let me introduce you to Serena while we're sitting here. Like I said, I'm CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth. And my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. And that is why this is a conversation. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating and relationship rules or rights and wrongs. We're not here to shame your love situation. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacies, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. So tonight and every Monday night, we're going to do what we do, which is have conversations that engage, educate, and or enlighten all of us in the areas of self-love, sex, relationships, and vibrating high. So since this season series is all about love and relationships around the world, and if you've been listening, you know how much I talk about self-love, one of the ways that we fill ourselves up is with physical and mental wellness, and there is nothing sexier than self-care. So my guest tonight, Serena Sabala, is a wellness coach, certified yoga teacher, and plant-based nutrition consultant who has studied the subject of nutrition for over 10 years and has a unique holistic approach to health and wellness. When she was only 8 years old, her father, a very successful and busy entrepreneur, got really sick. Unfortunately, he didn't have the tools to take care of his own well-being and therefore crumbled under the pressure of owning a multi-million euros business. This led him to losing everything he had worked so hard for, with huge consequences for him and the whole family. And those of you out there who are in that corporate life, in that corporate hustle right now, this show is definitely for you, because we're going to talk about, when you're compromising your health for your wealth and what it means to really get into taking care of yourself. As a result of her childhood experiences, Serena has developed an interest in well-being practices, which started at a very young age. Today, she works passionately to help leaders be strong and fit so they can be healthy and satisfied and can continue to have a positive impact within their organizations and the communities around them. Serena is also very passionate about bringing wellness to the workplace, since many people spend most of their waking hours at work. Absolutely. She believes that employees who are cared for care more, and that companies who put the well-being of their employees at the forefront of what they do are more successful. And hey, Serena!
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi there. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you can make it. Let me let everybody know that you are originally from Sicily, you live in the UK, and you're coming to us from Texas. So you're going to have to yell since you're coming all the way from Texas.
That's exactly right. My husband is America, so we visit the States regularly.
Uh-huh.
We have plenty of amazing clients here. So you can stop with us.
You said you have clients there in Texas?
Yeah, we do. We have a beautiful community. We lived here for many years.
Uh-huh.
So we always make sure we come back to reconnect with everybody personally.
Oh, I love that. I think that's fantastic. And I'm glad that I caught you on this part of your traveling schedule, because that meant we didn't have to do like a crazy time zone thing for you, right?
It was very, very lucky.
Right? No, it's perfect. So thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to dive into this conversation about wellness. I see Kenya has come on the Facebook Live. Hi, Kenya. I'm glad that you're here. And anybody else, I see there's a couple other people, but I can't see your names yet. Those of you who are on the Facebook Live during the course of our conversation, feel free to participate. I can read your comments. If you have any questions for Serena, please, by all means, put them in the comments and I'll relay them to her. So are you ready to get started, Serena? You want to jump in?
Let's jump in.
Let's jump in. So I was looking over some of the research that you sent me about what it is that you do. And like I was saying earlier, I definitely want to have a detailed discussion about, we always talk about loving ourselves. I feel like it's one of those sort of like trite things that people say, and they never really think about what it actually means to do it. right? Like, how do we take care of our wellness? Say that again.
No, I agree. You're absolutely right. It remains a theory, but it's quite hard for most people to actually translate it into active steps.
Right? And I think, because we are talking about love and relationships around the world, I think that one thing that might help is the more we talk about different modalities for taking care of yourself, it's easier for people to sort of find things that fit into what works for them, right? Because I think it's really important that people find what works for them particularly, or what they enjoy. Don't you agree?
Completely. I think holistic health and well-being should take into account what we call the universal principles of health and well-being, but also there should be a level of bespoke approach, because everybody is different inherently and motivated differently and has got different preferences and different goals and aspirations. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very personal.
Yeah, but you and your husband have something we discussed in our pre-interview about the 3 components. There's 3 components that you guys, I guess, sort of practice. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. They're essentially the 3 fundamental values that we apply in all the work that we do with being time-pressed professionals. And bearing in mind, we've both done this for over 20 years combined, and we've been lucky enough to be able to work across 5 countries with over 500 professionals in that period of time. So we were really able to identify the 3 most fundamental values that underpin kind of the most effective way of taking care of ourselves, and that motivate wellness in the most holistic way. And these 3 values are, which with all our clients and we live by a whole shift wellness, are to be selfish. So start with yourself, put yourself first, treat yourself as if you are the most important person in your life, because truly you are. Yeah. But then also be selfless. So
before you go past being selfish, because I feel like, I love that phrase, be selfish, but I feel like it has a lot of negative connotation around it, right?
100%. And in fact, the reason why we put it first is actually to spark a little bit of a reaction, because you're right. The general connotation around that word is a negative connotation. And the way we have created our values and the way that we pitch them is actually meant to create a little bit of a shock reaction, with the fundamental intention of challenging this negative connotation. Yeah. And once we go through them all and we are able to put them within a greater context, people tend to understand why we say be selfish, and why we put it out there, and why we haven't chosen a different and less weighted word. Is because we do want to challenge the negative connotation that the word has.
Yeah, and there was I can't remember who said it, because they really put it very well. This idea of why we have such triggering connotations around it too is because a lot of times people use it against us. They say, "Oh, you're so selfish." But I think that people say that, and this is a good way to sort of frame it so that you get okay with the concept of being selfish. People call you selfish because you're not on their agenda. So in that moment, they're actually the ones being selfish. So, we want to take that energy of, that someone else has told me I'm selfish, as if that's a bad thing. Yes, I am doing for myself first, because if I can't do for myself, I certainly can't do for you, right?
100%. And you know what I've discovered in my work and also in my personal experiences is 90% of the times when somebody calls you selfish is really because they are lacking in the self-care space. Yeah. So they are resenting you doing the very thing that they're not being able to do for themselves. Yes. And this is done on an unconscious level. It's not done maliciously often or consciously. But I even catch myself sometimes when I get this kind of pang of resenting my husband for doing something that I deem to be selfish. And then the moment I dig deep, I realize that really on an unconscious level, I wish I could do it myself. Yeah. I wish I could put myself first in the way that he's put himself first. But because I am not allowing myself to, I'm blaming him.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope everybody out there that resonates, because I feel like that's part of the reason that we end up compromising ourselves and in a state of overwhelm, because we feel like there's something wrong with being selfish.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So in the next one.
The next one is be selfless. And
Yes.
that's where you kind of balance it out, which is being selfish is the beginning, but it's not the end. You start with you and you take the best possible care of yourself first, so that you can be your very best self in the world and contribute your best self to everybody around you, your community and your families and your friends and your work, your employees and your employers. So really the message that we want to convey is that in taking the best possible care of yourself, you will do a far greater job in any area of your life.
Yeah.
So you will end up being more selfless.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. I love that, because you're bringing 100% of yourself whenever you can, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And you don't have that resentment that only those who are not well taken care of carry with themselves. You know, you literally can give unconditionally without expecting anything in return for the most part.
Yeah. Got it. I got it. I love that. And then go ahead.
The final one is the one that I find most rewarding and never ceases to blow my mind, which is play big and recognize that you're capable of way more than you think you are. And this is something that I see in my work every single day. Every single one of our shifters ends up achieving a level of transformation that far exceeds what they even saw possible when they started working with us, simply because, and this is human nature, we tend to underestimate what we're capable of achieving.
Yeah.
And our truest potential. So it's good to bear in mind that you probably can do way more than you think you are.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. So I think that that's a good basic foundation laid down for like how to begin to wrap your mind around what it means to actually love myself, fill myself up, and do the things that I need in order to show up the way that I want to, right? So some of the other things that, in the materials that you sent me that I saw that I wanted to sort of dive into or dig into, because I also think too, we forget, like when we're concentrated on, what's going on at work, or when we're concentrated on what's going on in our relationship, or, what we have a great question that's later on tonight in our Q&A about the sex life thing. Like when we're focusing on those, I always call those the mechanism problems. I think that it's always best to be willing to go back to what's going on in the inside, right? And the inner work. And what I loved about a lot of the points that are on your press release is you talk about the chemical things that we can do that help us and support us with that inner stuff, right?
100%.
Yeah. And one of the things that you talk about, let's say you said plant-based nutrition for long-term health and weight management. Now, I was really curious about the plant-based nutrition because I sort of have been like toggling and playing around with the idea of veganism a little bit. And I haven't 100% committed. I know a lot of people who have committed. I have a lot of friends who are vegetarians. I eat a lot less meat than I used to, but I wanted you to kind of talk about what that means when you say a plant-based nutrition for what it is that you do, and some tips for how someone who might want to transition, or someone who's thinking about it, like how they can do that, and what are some things that you guys do.
100%. So the first thing that I feel compelled to do is to make a slight distinction between vegan and plant-based, because that's a question that comes up in my conversations all the time, that is kind of starting to confuse people a little bit. Are they the same thing? Are they different? And if so, why and how are they different? So the fundamental difference that vegan food, vegan is more than just food, is obviously a lifestyle that revolves around avoiding the use of any animal product. But in particular, when applied to food, is all to do with just eating foods that do not contain any animal products.
Got it.
Now, plant-based is a little bit different, because plant-based is literally eating unprocessed plant foods as close to its natural form as you can possibly get it.
Wow.
So the main distinction is needed now simply because, thankfully, I think it's a good. There's quite a lot of vegan junk food available in the market, and vegan processed food and vegan replacement foods, which I am not one to demonize. I think they are brilliant alternatives for those who do want to avoid animal products. And I think they are brilliant transitional foods for those who are trying to eat healthily, because they tend to be healthier than the animal product equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
However, it can be very easy, quite unhealthy on a vegan diet in these days and age, if you're solely relying on processed vegan food. You know, think about it. I don't know if you knew this, but like Oreo cookies happen to be vegan.
I didn't know that.
Pringles Originals, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So it's you can have a high junk food vegan diet, which means that although you won't be eating any animal products, you still won't be able to achieve your greatest level of health, fitness, and well-being.
Gotcha.
Whereas if you shift towards plant-based, which is the least processed kind of animal foods as you can get them, with just the addition of occasional use of more processed food items, that's when the power of eating plants will really unlock for you, and will start achieving results, including, especially because that's one of the biggest concern for most people, effortless weight loss. So being able to actually eat more and lose weight and weigh less.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So with the plant-based system that you and your husband use, is it zero meat?
No, we don't advocate shifting from 0 to 100% plant-based.
Okay.
I never go into a work with a client unless I have been requested. But even if I am requested, I've been doing this for quite a long time. I have now been able to develop the best approach to shift towards plant-based eating. And I can assure you, it is not a matter of 0 to 100. And nor do you only 100% plant-based in order to make massive improvements. You just need to shift that direction in a gradual, systematic and progressive way to whatever extent you're comfortable doing, and at some point you will settle somewhere in between 75 to 100%, depending on where you're at and your own individual preferences, and that will allow you to achieve amazing results. But the one thing I would never recommend anybody to do is go from a fully Western diet revolving around tons of animal products to switching to 100% plant-based all of a sudden, because that can not only be challenging on an emotional level and on a practical level, but it's actually quite challenging on a physical level, because you're increasing your fiber consumption so dramatically that you might get some nasty side effects that might put you off, that might make you think like the plant-based thing doesn't work for you.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Now, is it something that you evolved into?
No, I did it the wrong way, and that's how I've learned.
That's how you you had that experience?
Well, to be honest, in all fairness, I already wasn't eating much dairy because I had already discovered the nasty side effects around dairy products. So I had already cut all of that out, but I was eating everything else. And when I decided to give it a go, I didn't see a point in taking away the meat and reintroducing the dairy, which I already knew wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
So I decided to delve straight in, go 100% in. And we managed to make it work for us, but if we hadn't been so self-motivated and so well-trained in health and wellness and nutrition for myself as well, I can see how it would have felt quite demotivating and daunting and overwhelming, and that's why I don't recommend others to do the same. And I've actually developed a methodology that prevents that sense of motivation and overwhelm.
Oh, I love that. So you actually have within your system a way to sort of like gradually.
100%.
Okay, because
yes.
That's what I've been toggling with. Go ahead.
Methodological and very well tested now, because we've obviously worked with all our shifters in that way, so we've been able to fine-tune it more and more each time.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important, because I sort of have just been playing with it and toggling with it and like trying to piece it together here and there. So I do think it's important to like have someone guide you through the the process, because it can be a very dramatic process. But I also think that as we get older, I believe in, like, you can have aging thoughts and things like that. But I do think that as we get older, it becomes more important to sort of take care of ourselves. So there's something to be said for, like, how to make those transitions from, just eating whatever you want and eating things that don't necessarily support your wellness to actually having a really healthy diet. I do think it's important.
100%. And actually, one thing that I always say to our shifters is 90% of what you perceive to be your food problems are actually your focus problems. And I don't know if in our literature you were able to see how we talk about the 3 pillars of well-being: focus, food, and fitness, as we've been able to identify them in our work. And your well-being being really like a tripod that needs legs to be equally as strong as each other. And in my work around nutrition, I find that actually nutrition is quite an emotional topic, and there's a lot of weight that revolves around what I call the psychology of eating. Don't address it, especially in making a transition that can be quite radical away from all your food childhoods and the things you grew up with and special occasions. If you don't address what I call the psychology of eating and the focus pillar, it can be incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
And that's why most people give up, is because they only look at the food without taking that other aspect into account.
Yeah, I got it. I love that. Okay. All right. So then another thing that you have in your bullet points, the most common mistakes busy professionals make when they want to improve their health and how to prevent them. So what are some of the common mistakes that busy professionals make? I know, like, I'm busy now, but I feel like when I was busy and not conscious of my health, I know some of the mistakes I made. But what are some?
Well, yeah, it's fascinating, because actually the single most common one that we see happen time and time again, that they are present, fact that their health and wellness are deteriorating and that they're not doing the best that they could and that things need to change. However, they fail to take the first step in a new direction. They look at it as this big mountain that they've got to climb, and it feels so daunting and overwhelming that they never do anything about it. So although they are fully conscious and present with the fact that things shouldn't continue on the way they are, they fail to take action. This is the most common one. We see it happen time and time again. They're literally waiting to hit some level of rock bottom, or for it to become doctors or taking action, simply because they're not aware of where to start from with. And then, interestingly, the second most common mistake, which tends to happen as a result of some little breakdown that forces them into action, is that once they do decide to change and improve, they change too much all at once. So that's what I call the New Year resolution.
Oh yeah.
When January comes and you feel so bad about all the extravaganza of Christmas and the holidays, that you decide that this year and you're going to go through a radical change, and you're going to go to the gym 6 times a week, and you're going to meditate an hour a day, and you're going to eat just salad and soup for 6 months, and you go from 0 to 100, and you create this new regimen that is so radical and unsustainable that you can barely stick with it for a week, and then you give up.
Yeah, I feel like that.
So either they're not doing anything at all, or they're going in too far, too deep, too quickly.
Like trying to do like the 3-hour workouts every day, and and it's interesting that you say that too, because I still have a lot of people in my life who are very much in that rat race and in that hustle, especially being from New York and everything. And what would be your advice as far as like because I know so many people who are just every day, it's I'm tired, but they're on that rat race, they're on that hustle, they're working the long hours, they have no idea where to even fit it in. Like what would be your advice for even getting started? Because I even had that problem. It wasn't until I actually left that rat race and started working for myself, which I worked actually even longer hours, but because I was arranging my own schedule, I could start putting self-care in. But for those people who are still going to a corporate job and they're still on that hamster wheel, what is your advice for just those first couple of steps?
So I would start very small. I would do something that I call chunking it down. So I would start by writing down what the goals are. So actually take pen to paper and write down what your health and wellness goals are. Come up with like a top 10, and then look at like the first 3. And on the first 3 goals that you've identified, just identify what could be one tiny, small step in the direction towards that goal that you can ideally put into action on that day, and if not on that day, by the end of that week. The most fundamental thing is to start the momentum in a new direction.
Yeah.
And new momentum needs action. So until you, and all it takes is literally one step. You know, we think, like they all say, the journey of 1,000 steps, of 1,000 miles started with one step. But you've got to take that one fresh step in the new direction if you want to achieve new results. So you've got to break down your goals into something so small that you can actually put into action as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, I like that. I really like that. So let's see, because I have Kenya on Facebook Live. She has a couple comments. Hold on, I'm on my little laptop, so I'm like trying to see every little window. She says, Kenya says, I'm so unmotivated. I haven't gotten to the New Year's resolution step. I've never gotten to the new. Well, that's the thing, Kenya. I think what Serena is saying is that you don't have to approach it in that New Year's resolution kind of way. That it's really just about, making the small steps, doing the list of 10, like you're saying.
A lack of motivation sometimes stems from a lack of being aware of what not being our most healthy self deprives us of. So my suggestion to Kenya would be to spend 5 or 10 minutes thinking about, okay, so my life going to look like if I continue not to take the best possible care of myself?
Oh, I love that.
What risks am I running into? What do I run the risk of losing? And really become present with everything that you are missing out of or will miss out of if you continue going down this path. And also equally, ask yourself, well, what would I gain by change then if I managed to get to that level of health and wellness? How would my life improve?
Yeah.
So, nothing motivates you more than becoming present with the pain that not being healthy causes in your life, and the pleasure that you would get out of becoming healthier.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think, too, in doing that exploration, people also get to understand, because I think so many of us are motivated by fear, and we think we should be motivated by fear, when meanwhile, it's that fear motivation that also stops us, right? We don't want to get off the hamster wheel because, God forbid, we're not making the same amount of money, or if we don't show up in a way that we need to for our boss, and then our boss gets mad. I feel like that exploration that you're talking about brings all of that stuff up too.
100%. You become present with it. And actually, interestingly, and this is a true psychological fact, is that success is our greatest motivator. Nothing motivates human beings more greatly than succeeding and feeling like we're doing well.
You're saying the experience of you're saying the experience of success. Like once we experience success, it motivates.
The experience and the perception of succeeding,
Gotcha.
which you can succeed at something very small, and that success will motivate you to continue to do better.
Yeah.
And that motivates you more than fear, way more than fear. This has been tested and tried.
Really?
In scientific research.
Yeah. Gotcha. So you're saying what? Based on.
So I'm saying that it's very important to find positive motivation.
Gotcha.
As much
I
as
see.
it is to find negative motivation.
Yeah.
And that's why taking small steps that you can actually succeed at,
Yeah.
that you can see yourself actually actioning and getting better at, will motivate you to continue to do better and better. Way more than fear will ever motivate you.
I love that. Absolutely. And it's that focus on, I mean, I know it sounds so Pollyanna to people, that focus on the positive, right?
It's fundamental.
Yeah, absolutely. What's Kenya saying? Kenya's saying, so true. I have to keep moving the windows over every time. I'm going to figure out a better system for this. Kenya says, so true. Thanks for your advice. Are you going to do it, Kenya? Hopefully you're going to. Kenya's one of my regulars. always interacts. I always say she's like a co-host of the show. Hopefully you're going to take Serena's advice, because if you're really feeling like you want to have a wellness transformation, I agree with you. Like, I feel like I always say that any transformation, it's like a yoga practice. Like, I started doing yoga 15 years ago, and I couldn't do downward dog for, more than 10 seconds. And now it feels like a rest position, but it took, years for it to feel like that. Right. And I feel like oftentimes we start something that's like what you were talking about. People want to jump in, and overdo it because we want that instant result and we want something to instantly work. But, I really think what you're saying about taking the small steps and just being willing to, allow it to evolve is really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Okay. So what's another one? How to set effective weight loss goals that you will stick to. I feel like we're kind of almost touching on that, but talk about that a little bit, Serena.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's all about moving gradually and recognizing, which is one thing that, professionals and high achievers tend to really struggle with, that real long-lasting results take longer than you would like to.
Yeah.
However, they don't take as long as all the time that you've wasted trying shortcuts and fads and solutions that have inevitably only ever worked temporarily.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I always encourage people to just quit that approach of the quick fix, of the 21-day transformation, of the 5-day fast, the 3-day detox, and really look at a plan that allows you to transform your habits at the root level, because nothing that you do for a few days or a few weeks will bring forth permanent results. Only what you do and make your own for the rest of your life will bring forth permanent results. So it takes longer than you would like to, but trust me when I say it's not gonna take as long as all the time you've wasted on the fads.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because it's true. Like, we can let years go by just complaining about wanting it to be different and doing all these things that we think will be the instant fix.
And actually, the sad truth about those quick fixes is that every time we go down that route out of impatience mentally, we are taking active steps away from our goals rather than closer to our goals.
Yeah.
Because you do this thing and you stick with it, and then inevitably it either stops working or it reverts you back and it dents your motivation and you lose the momentum and you have to start building the momentum all over again. So you think you might be taking steps forward when in fact you're actually taking steps backwards.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, so you said that you have a 5-step proven methodology for transforming your mind and body fitness once and for all. Can you give us like just the general bullets of the 5 steps?
Yeah, so the first one is to move gradually, and we've touched on that. So it's to create a strategy that allows you to make small incremental improvements in the right direction. Then you've got to motivate yourself. So you've got to dig deep to discover your whys, to discover your motivation, to discover your goals. And this is the work that most people tend to underestimate. You've got to dig way deeper than you think. Then you've got to manage your thoughts. Your mind needs as much training, if not more, than your body. So you have to have a strategy to maintain that level of motivation and constantly keep your eyes on the prize, right? And then you've got to make plans, because whenever you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And lastly, you've got to monitor your progress, because like I said, success is your greatest motivation. So every single day, you've got to make time to notice all the things that you did right and all the things that you are already improving on, which doesn't necessarily mean losing weight. Mm-hmm. There's many ways to track progress, but other than just losing weight. And so if you apply these 5 steps, all the 3 pillars of well-being, which are focus, food, and fitness, you will allow to create transformation rather than just change.
Got it. Oh, I love it. I love it. So when I go back and I'm editing through this video, I'm gonna be putting a lower third of each of those steps for them to watch it. So the thing is this, what I want to make sure to do is to put any links for anybody to get in touch with you if they want to work with you and, work with you you said you work remotely with people as well, right? And
Sure.
yeah.
Packages.
For anybody who wants to get in touch with you, I'll make sure that your links are on the post. But what are some of your social media handles, and what would you like for people to know? What is it you want people to look for?
Yeah, so I'm very active on both Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So on Facebook and Instagram, you'll find me under handle Whole Shift Wellness, which is all one word.
Okay.
So it's at Whole Shift Wellness. And then on LinkedIn is under my first name, Serena Sabala. That's where my profile is under for our kind of the corporate work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
I have an amazing tool that it's taken us months to develop, and it really empowers everybody who spends 5 minutes on it. It's called a scorecard questionnaire, and it's really, we've designed it with the idea of allowing people to score their current level of development across the 3 pillars of well-being.
Okay.
So that they can get more clarity around it, and also some small effective tips that they can start implementing right away. So really, this is probably the best resource we have available for free on our website. If you go on wholeshiftwellness.com, find the link to the scorecard questionnaire. It takes about 5 minutes, about 40 answers, so 40 questions that you answer, and then you get via email a thorough PDF report with your unique scores and some tips. Make sure you check the spam in case you haven't got it. And really, anybody that's really motivated to do something and to take one small step in a new direction, I would point them towards the scorecard questionnaire. It's a very empowering tool.
Awesome. Okay, so wholeshiftwellness.com is the website, right? So I'm going to make sure to put that link on the Facebook post, and I'll put it in other places where the replay is. And those of you who are listening in Armed Radio in the listening world, whole as in WHOLE, Whole Shift Wellness. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to stick around for a little bit, Serena, before we sign off, because I want you to be around for the listener question that we're going to be answering in a little while. But in the meantime, for those of you who are in the New York City area, this next Sunday, December 8th, my friend Chef Keisha Ogaldez and I have partnered together to bring you Winter Wild, a self-care and healing experience to raise your holiday vibration and maintain your wellness. All this good stuff that me and Serena have been talking about tonight. The ways that you can actually get active about taking care of yourself. This event is going to be one of those ways if you're someone who just wants to, get introduced to movement and meditation and eating really healthy food. She's somewhat of a vegetarian chef, but she cooks farm to table, very fresh, whole foods. And it's always delicious. I'm going to be teaching my movement class. It's called VAMP, Vibrant, Alive, Magnetic, and Passionate. And it's going to be sensual movement and meditation. And like I said, the chef is going to be serving healthy farm-to-table food to replenish your soul and support your holiday happiness. So if you're listening, go to Eventbrite and get your tickets for Winter Wild. And also there's a Cyber Monday promo code for 10% off the ticket. And it's just Cyber Monday if you type Cyber Monday. So Winter Wild on Eventbrite. The other thing is I am offering for the next few weeks before Christmas, or maybe even up until after Christmas, communication crisis call. Holidays can be wonderful, and they can also be a time of emotional strife. So whether it's family, coworkers, or your significant other, sometimes communication just breaks down and stress gets elevated. Anxiety becomes the default setting, and therefore we know it. Before we know it, a new year has started on the wrong foot. So most of the time, all we really need is an uninvolved third party to listen to our perspective and help us get back in the game. But with all this holiday chaos, who can make a sane decision about how to best invest in their mental well-being? So I am offering a free complimentary holiday communication crisis call. It's regularly $200, and it is my gift to you during this holiday season. I will also put the link on the Facebook post to make an appointment. It's easy. All you got to do is click the link, fill in the little questionnaire, and make your complimentary appointment. It's a no sales consultation call, and just to lighten that holiday load. Now, I'm so excited because normally what I do with the listener questions is I incorporate them in the topic of the show. But I got an email from a gentleman, and he asked to remain anonymous, and it was an intriguing question. And he was very just open, and he just seemed like a nice guy. And I thought it might be good to actually just answer these questions straight. And I have Serena here, who is a fitness coach and trainer and yoga teacher. And I feel like because we're talking about self-love and self-care, she'll be able to give her perspective on, what his question is as well. I thought it might be a fun, interesting thing to try out. It might be something new that we do on the show from now going forward, but we'll see what happens. In your game, right, Serena?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. So I'm gonna read you guys this gentleman's question. I'm calling him Lost Lust. That's what the question is all about. He says, if this is his writing verbatim, if sexual attraction has been lost for one partner, in this case the man, he puts in parentheses, should they continue to date and possibly engage in the future? Let's say a relationship of about 2.5 years is happening and everything is very good about it except the sex. The man has lost, now he talks about himself in the third person, so he's already putting it out there somewhere. But he says the man has kind of lost attraction towards her in that way, but does really like her a lot and would consider committing by getting engaged. However, the sexual attraction for him has pretty much gone, and it's been 5 months since they've hooked up. She has since seen a therapist, and the guy has agreed to go see the same therapist on his own, and eventually maybe they'll go together. I think the loss of attraction can be for many reasons, such as protecting himself a bit because he perhaps sees that the relationship may come to an end if he wants to move to another city. He's like inviting all kinds of extra stuff. And the reason might be as strange as because she is short and he wants to have big children, or thinks she might not be a healthy enough partner. So he gave his own little self-analyzation of his own question. But I feel like in his own self-analyzation, he revealed a lot of himself. What do you think about that, Serena?
No, absolutely. First of all, and this is not my field of expertise, so really my advice is coming more from my own perspective on this subject totally. than any professional perspective on this subject. But in my humble opinion, as a woman, I would say that it is impossible to lose genuine attraction towards somebody, genuine sexual attraction towards somebody in only 5 months. Mm. So this leads me to think in terms of whether to begin with this relationship was started off on the right footing. And so my suggestion, if this gentleman was a friend of mine, I would invite him to think as to whether the original intentions behind starting this relationship were genuine and authentic, whether he really genuinely liked this person to begin with in the first place. And if that was the case, then what I would invite him to think about is not so much what has changed in her as much as what has changed in him in this past 5 months, which might have therefore made it might have kind of affected his attraction towards the partner, and so like you said already, he was kind of giving some possible answers in his own little self-diagnosis, but we tend to put the finger out, kind of like, oh, she's different, she's not the same person, when actually for it to happen so quickly in just the space of 5 months, something has probably shifted him.
Yeah.
That he might need to address and unpack.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. Because for me as a coach, it always goes back to whoever's doing the complaining is the one who needs the work, right? So the one who's asking the question, the one who feels that there's an issue. And that's the thing about it. And the reason that we even are having this whole conversation about self-care and everything that we talked about filling yourself up, and for those of you out there, when we're in these partnerships and these relationships with people, when we start to have the triggering and we start to have the loss of feelings and the negativity comes up and all of that stuff, we tend to look outside and think that there's something our partner needs to fix or something we need to fix about our partner rather than turning it inward. And, sometimes people get a little mad at me about it, but when people come to me with their questions about their relationships and their issues and things like that, the first thing I say is, let's do some self-reflection. Let's go, right? Let's go inward. Let's talk about this. So I broke down this whole question a little bit. So he starts out with, if sexual attraction has been lost for one partner, the man in this case, should they continue to date and possibly engage in the future? So, my advice to you, Lost Lust, is first of all, you need to get some clarity. And like Serena was saying, on specifically why you've lost attraction. And I agree with her in that, when there is, like, people can undergo physical changes and years can go by. People can have kids. There are physical, superficial reasons why someone might lose the desire to have sex. But if you've been together, I think you said 2.5 years, you haven't had sex in five of those months, I really think that it's in your best interest to have some honest self-reflection about your original intentions with this woman to begin with. You guys, don't say anything about having any kids. And you haven't gotten married yet. So, what was really going on from the very beginning? Also, is there a dynamic in the relationship that has you feeling emasculated? Like, what's going on with you as far as your self-image, your self-worth? Are you working? Are you doing things that have you feel like you are striving and growing into the best man that you can be? Because a lot of times when we're not feeling so good about ourselves, our libido goes down. Right? And I think, it's men and women in our different ways. For women, a lot of times it's what's going on with our physical. And for men, a lot of times it's what's going on financially or what's going on in, career or work life. A lot of times that can really make the self-esteem tank a little bit. And then you start to feel like, my sexual libido is going down. And then it's easier to kind of push it onto my partner or, push it outside of me rather than just be like, I just don't feel that sexy right now because I'm, feeling bad about myself. And then also you say, let's say a relationship of 2.5 years. So you've been together for 2.5 years and you say that everything is good about it except the sex. The reason that I find that questionable is because if everything were good about it, you would be having this conversation with her. You would have already had this conversation with her before you ever came to me or wrote the questions to me, which, I'm glad you did. You're welcome to do it. But if everything else were going good, you'd be able to have that level of communication. So you say, and you keep talking about yourself sort of in the third person. This man has kind of lost attraction towards her in a way, but does really like her a lot and would consider committing by getting engaged. However, the sexual attraction for him has pretty much gone, and it's been 5 months since they've hooked up. So the fact that you kind of like take yourself out of it and you're not using I statements suggests that you're not having any sort of emotional connection to this, or you're trying to deny your emotional connection to this. And that also makes what your motives are in the situation a little bit questionable. Not to say that you're a bad guy. You might be a great guy, just maybe making some choices that don't really work for you. And I want you to really get honest with yourself about that. And, so that you can get honest with her. And so when you analyze yourself, you say that the loss of attraction could be that you're protecting yourself because that the relationship may come to an end if you want to move to another city. And also that it could be that it's because she's short and you want to have big children and you think she might not be a healthy enough partner. Again, lost. Time to get really real with yourself whether this woman is right for you at all, because sexual issues are often just a symptom of much bigger issues. And so a lot of times when we're in a situation that's not working, we want to come off as a nice person, right? So we try to justify why we feel the way we do with a set of inane arguments for why something may be wrong with that other person, or, and it's just us avoiding the truth. So here's the thing. And, I believe this about women, but more so I believe this about men. When a man feels that a partner, a woman in particular, is right for him, or even a man who dates men, or whatever. When a man feels like a partner is right for them and they're truly committed, they really don't care about things like how are we going to make the future plans work, or whether they're tall enough for the children, or what was the other thing that you said? Protecting yourself because it might come to an end if you move to another city. Like, when we want someone, we love someone, and those things are just minutia. Right, Serena? Don't you agree?
I completely agree. I think being in love is like being hungry. You either are or you're not.
Yeah.
If you are, you know that you are. And if you're wondering whether you're in love, then you're not in love.
Yeah.
Because when you are completely in love, it's unquestionable, and everything else comes second. And let me tell you, because I myself found myself at a junction where I was holding on to a relationship that wasn't right for me very tightly.
Yeah.
And I realized that it was the right relationship on paper only because I was giving weight to stuff that doesn't matter, to social status, to work, to convenience, to security, stuff that when it comes to love comes second, actually. And only when you do that do all those small things annoy you. And I ended up marrying my soulmate, who, by the way, on paper was absolutely not the right person for me. But then again, he's man of my life.
Yeah. So
I think sometimes we need to question what we're giving value to. What are we actually valuing in this relationship? And is that really what makes a great relationship?
100%. Especially since I think culturally it's like, you know, we're supposed to be looking for someone who's got the right bank account and the right career and the right. And,
and the age comes into play as well, because I was 30, which is when everybody settles and has kids and buys the house in the nice neighborhood. And I undid all the securities in my life, and I ended up breaking up and changing career and losing everything that I worked so hard for many years. And it was challenging. It was challenging, but also profoundly liberating, and it put me in touch with the things that really mattered to me. And it created a space for me to find real love.
Yeah.
So, but it is hard to not subdue ourselves to those social pressures.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. I love what you said about you had to clear that space in order to find love and actually find your soulmate. And this is the thing we don't want to be afraid of, because it comes from a mentality of lack. Holding on to someone and trying to make them fit when they don't fit, rather than being willing to release and let go.
Wake up.
Oh, and we're just getting poked. We got 1 minute left with the Armed Radio people. Armed Radio people, never forget you're a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you're not getting enough love, make more and ask for candy. Now, I'm going to continue with the rest of this, and Armed Radio people, will see you later, but those of you who are live on the Facebook. So yeah, you got to be willing to let go when it's not working, so that what does work can come into your life. My advice for Lost Lust is that you talk to her and ask that she be patient and understanding, and tell her in a loving way what is going on with you, what you're feeling. Ask her how she's feeling and what's going on with her. Talk about the fact that you haven't had sex for 5 months. And if you do actually love her, you will want to know how she feels about things as well. And so maybe it's something where you guys can work out a win-win. Maybe there's something going on, that you don't know about, or vice versa, and you haven't had that communication that might change how you feel.